Have you ever, countless times, felt your phone emanate an indescribable magic in the dead of night, pulling away your sleepiness, your resolve, and everything you face tomorrow, all into that flickering screen? Have you also stood before that to-do list, knowing clearly the importance of each task, yet unable to move an inch, to lift your body from the chair and head towards what reason defines as the right direction? You've tried countless methods, breaking down grand goals into tiny steps, setting a reward for yourself after completing each small part, like playing 30 minutes of games. You even swore to yourself to practice strict, delayed gratification, setting focus alarms for hours, vowing not to touch any temptation. Or perhaps you tried the dopamine replacement method, attempting to substitute low-stimulation reading for high-stimulation binge-watching, hoping your brain could be tricked. Yet, each time, haven't you ended with the same defeat? That 30-minute game reward often turned into an endless, just one more round. That firm, delayed gratification ultimately devolved into endless procrastination, as you made coffee, tidied your desk, or even trimmed your nails just to avoid the slight discomfort of the task itself. And when trying to replace video streaming with reading, your brain, being smart, always chose the path of least resistance and most immediate pleasure, plunging you back into fragmented stimulation. You might even have attempted the extreme and popular dopamine detox, abstaining from the internet and leading a life of simplicity for a few days, hoping to reset your desire threshold. But tragically, the moment you lifted the ban, those previously suppressed desires would rebound with 10 or 100 times the ferocity, making you more addicted than ever. Do the tides of self-reproach, anxiety, and self-criticism continuously crash against your soul day and night, leaving you feeling powerless, making you question if you are genetically predisposed to a lack of self-discipline? At this moment, I ask you to pause. Deep within, allow a more penetrating, more unsettling question, like a cold blade, to quietly cut through this seemingly intractable dilemma. What if this perceived inability to be disciplined, this helplessness of being enslaved by dopamine, is actually not a sign of your weak will, but a fundamental misunderstanding of humanity's deepest psychodynamic mechanisms? What if those self-discipline secrets you hold sacred were built on a false premise from the beginning, and they not only fail to help you achieve true self-discipline, but instead trap you in a continuous struggle and depletion against your inner self? Have you ever considered that the harder you try to control yourself, the more you attempt to detox or suppress an impulse, the stronger that impulse will rebound? Does this imply that the path to true self-discipline is not through confrontation, but through a counterintuitive going with the flow, even a mastery and redirection of dopamine itself? Are you pursuing superficial discipline or the autonomy from the depths of your soul? Why do we instinctively fall into the self-discipline trap, cycling repeatedly between self-reproach and indulgence? This is not merely a simple character flaw, but is rooted in the deep cognitive biases of the human brain, evolutionary remnants of survival instincts, and society's pathological obsession with control. From a neuroscientific perspective, dopamine is often misunderstood as merely a pleasure-reward chemical, but its core function is actually seeking and anticipation. Dopamine drives us to explore, to pursue, to predict potential future rewards. When we scroll on our phones or play games, the brain isn't just enjoying immediate pleasure. More importantly, it's constantly seeking the next stimulus, the next piece of information, the next win. This seeking circuit is a powerful engine of human evolution, driving us to hunt, learn, and create. However, when it's hijacked by highly stimulating instant feedback modern digital products, it redirects our seeking instinct towards easily obtainable and continuous micro-rewards, rather than the true rewards that require long-term investment and bring significant achievement. The more you try to detox from this seeking, the more deprived your brain feels, leading to a stronger rebound of craving. However, while this biological explanation reveals the superficial mechanisms of dopamine, it fails to touch upon deeper psychological and philosophical dimensions. The problem arises when you merely attribute lack of self-discipline to dopamine's hijacking, or your weak will falling into a mechanistic trap. You view yourself as an object, completely controlled by chemicals or external stimuli, rather than a subject with free will and intrinsic value. This oversimplification leads you to overlook the deeper psychodynamics behind self-discipline. A lack of self-discipline is often not a character flaw, but a natural response to the deprivation of self-worth, leading to a lack of individual drive. This is where the fundamental fallacy of traditional self-discipline methodologies lies. Whether it's delayed gratification or dopamine detox, they all implicitly carry a common suppressive assumption. You shouldn't enjoy your instinctive impulses. You should control yourself. You should suppress your true feelings. This forced should is itself a deprivation of your free will. When you are bound by external rules, such as study time is set by others, work and overtime hours are set by others, even duties and responsibilities are set by others, or suppressed by internal self-criticism, your brain instinctively seeks a sense of free control. Scrolling on your phone, playing games, in that moment, becomes the only territory you can freely control. Your brain doesn't care how much you blame yourself. It only craves that deprived freedom. This psychological reactance means that the harder you try to suppress your inner desire for freedom with external will, the more likely it is to lead to greater rebellion and lack of self-discipline. It's like telling a child, "Don't do that," and their greatest likelihood is to do exactly that. Your excessive effort to maintain discipline actually diminishes your ability to be truly disciplined, because you waste precious willpower fighting your own desires instead of directing it towards value creation. This misunderstanding of dopamine and forced suppression of self-will will subtly and profoundly impact your life. Firstly, it will lead you into a vicious cycle of willpower depletion. Your willpower is not infinite. It's like a battery that needs proper charging and allocation. When you use a lot of willpower to fight instinctive impulses, like suppressing the urge to scroll or forcing yourself to focus on studying, this battery quickly drains. Once willpower is exhausted, you become more susceptible to the lure of least resistance, falling back into indulgence. This daily internal friction leaves you mentally and physically exhausted, perpetually trapped in a false discipline illusion. You expend enormous energy but fail to produce true value, ultimately leading to deep weariness and despair towards self-discipline itself. Secondly, it hinders your connection with your true self, thus preventing the establishment of profound intrinsic motivation. When you continuously suppress your instinctive desires, believing them to be bad or shouldn't exist, you are refusing to integrate your shadow, Jungian shadow. You are not becoming a complete self, but playing a perfect self according to social norms. This suppression prevents you from listening to the true voice deep within. from accessing those core values that can genuinely drive you and make your life feel meaningful. The reason you can't generate strong intrinsic motivation for studying or working is precisely because they may not be connected to your soul's deepest desires. They're merely tasks externally imposed on you. The further you drift from your true self, the harder it becomes to find that powerful drive that makes you feel uncomfortable if you don't strive for your dreams for a day. The self-discipline you pursue ultimately becomes just a shell, its core empty, because you refuse to profoundly explore the meaning of your own life. The deepest impact is that it causes you to miss out on the discovery and creation of life's meaning, thus failing to fulfill the ultimate mission of individuation. Jung's theory of individuation states that life's core mission is to become a complete self, integrating all inner aspects, including suppressed impulses and desires, and directing this energy towards self-realization. If you continuously direct dopamine's seeking energy towards fragmented instant gratification, rather than using it to pursue your core values and true passions, you are wasting life's most precious driving force on meaningless consumption. Your life becomes a mechanical cycle of performing tasks and fleeting escapes. You never truly pause to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Who do I truly want to become? This absence is a heavier regret than any failure, for it means you have never truly lived, never truly experienced the highest levels of freedom and abundance a person can achieve. The control you pursue ultimately becomes the cage that imprisons your soul. So, how can you truly tame dopamine? Break free from the sorrow of this self-discipline trap and transform it from a tyrant into a powerful ally for achieving self-worth, thereby truly becoming addicted to self-discipline. This requires a profound cognitive paradigm shift and behavioral reconstruction whose core is to use dopamine to strengthen self-worth, thus countering the hijacking of passive dopamine. This is not a simple technique, but a deep psychodynamic strategy based on ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. Firstly, rebuild your motivation engine, the Vision Board DIY method. This is not just a motivational slogan, but leverages dopamine's seeking nature, anchoring it to the future vision you truly desire. 1. Clarify your source of craving. Collect images that inspire intrinsic motivation. Gather pictures and words that ignite a spark within you. These can be about your career achievements, personal growth, spiritual pursuits, travel dreams, physical health, or even your idols or mentors. The key is that during the collection process, you must constantly ask yourself, why did I choose this image? What deep-seated desire does it truly represent within me? This process itself is a profound self-dialogue, shifting you from a vague wanting to be better to a clear wanting to become X kind of person. 2. Visualize your future. Create and place your vision board. Cut out or print these images and words, arranging them freely on a prominent piece of cardstock. Place it somewhere you'll see it every day, in front of your desk, on your bedroom wall, or even as your phone background. Visibility is key. 3. Daily dopamine activation. Regular gazing and self-questioning. Set an alarm daily, dedicating even just 1 minute in the morning or evening to gaze at your vision board. While gazing, continuously ask yourself, why do I truly want all of this? What does it mean to me? How will achieving it make me feel? And who will I become? When your brain repeatedly sees these images and contemplates their deeper value, dopamine will be released, But this time, it's not passively pursuing instant gratification. It's actively guided towards a grander, more meaningful, long-term reward. This continuous reinforcement of self-worth will generate a powerful intrinsic drive for the efforts you put in, even leading to a flow state where you won't feel tired after working for 10 hours. Secondly, find your life's scale, the end-of-life motivation method. This powerful strategy, proposed by Stephen Hayes, foundation of ACT, helps you pierce through superficial desires and reach the core values of your life. Face your fear. Imagine the unlived life. Take out a pen and paper, or do this mentally, and imagine that you, X years from now, have passed away. Your partner, children, friends, and teachers are all at your funeral. First, imagine if you had spent your life consumed by internal friction, anxiety, struggle, and escape. What would they secretly think of you? Write down this eulogy, word for word. This eulogy is the life you fear most, the one you desperately want to avoid. Its impact will serve as a powerful inverse motivation for change. 2. Construct your ideal. Imagine the truly lived life. Next, imagine your funeral again, but this time you have lived your life exactly as you truly desired. What would they say about you? What do you wish to be inscribed on your tombstone? Take 5 to 10 minutes to write this ideal eulogy. This is the life you deeply aspire to, the person you truly want to become, the legacy you wish to leave the world. This imagination and writing process can help you clearly define your core values, thereby activating a powerful intrinsic motivation that transcends immediate pleasure. When you clarify your life scale, you will find that a person who seeks wisdom doesn't need to force themselves. They will naturally find time to study, read, and interact with experts, even staying disciplined during leisure, because all actions serve that grand self-definition. The ultimate insight is this: your deepest, most lasting self-discipline and meaning do not come from suppressing and fighting your own desires, but from your profound acceptance of the complexity of human existence and your continuous choice and commitment to your true self. True addiction to self-discipline is not about taming dopamine, but about making dopamine a loyal servant to your core values. Stop those futile attempts to dopamine detox and stop criticizing yourself. You are not the only person who scrolls on their phone in the middle of the night, nor are you inherently lacking in self-discipline. Your indulgence stems from being deprived of a sense of free control, from being burdened with countless shoulds, and dopamine is merely helping you find that small exit for freedom that belongs to you. When you let go of self-criticism, you stop wasting willpower fighting desires, and instead release it for deeper self-exploration. When you truly start asking yourself, why do I work and scroll my phone repeatedly every day? Who do I truly want to become? At that moment, you embark on a journey of discovering your self-worth and meaning, and this, indeed, is the only way for a person to maintain long-term self-discipline. Once your core values are firm, all self-discipline methods, whether it's goal breakdown, delayed gratification, or habit formation, will become much more effective. They will no longer be external rules imposed on you, but paths you voluntarily choose, leading to higher self-realization. This is like Andy Ramage's 28-day immediate gratification self-discipline method. It's no longer about suppression, but like stacking buffs. Once you successfully build one habit, you easily stack another on top, allowing your self-discipline to snowball, becoming a natural way of life. The world always demands that we must do countless things, but what truly matters is never what you must do, but who you believe you must become. Do not say next time for sure, because your next time may never come. Go and become the person you aspire to be. Let your dopamine surge for you and dance for the meaning you define. Let a meaningless life become more meaningful and let your life truly live out its inherent grandeur and freedom.